It hurt seeing my grand-aunt slowly die from esophageal cancer. But it also got me wondering about how many other families have been wounded by the loss of a loved one due to cancer. Now, cancer affects all of us, which is why 1 out of every 3 in this audience will be diagnosed, and as a result, 1 out of every 4 of those will die. So, what if we could stop this? Forget cancer, we could potentially get rid of all genetically caused diseases. But let's take a step back. What exactly is this solution, and is it really too good to be true? Now, genetic engineering, as we know it, does have its ups and downs, but I think it's important that we understand the general concept of it first. Through selective breeding, we strengthened useful traits in plants and animals. And we became very good at this, but never fully understood how it worked, until we discovered the code of life, DNA. Today, many chemical compounds that had to be harvested from animal organs, such as life-saving clotting factors, insulin, and growth hormones, are now all produced by genetic engineering. On the fun side, we made frogs jump higher. Now, I know that this is all very interesting, but let's take a look at the reason I'm giving you this talk right now. Crispr. Surprisingly, CRISPR is a naturally occurring process that's long functioned as part of the bacterial immune system. What's special is that CRISPR is very precise, almost like a DNA surgeon. You can just give it a copy of the DNA you want to modify and inject it into a living cell. If the old techniques of genetic manipulation were like a map, CRISPR is like a GPS system. Aside from being incredibly precise, cheap, and easy, CRISPR also offers the opportunity to edit live cells, to switch genes on and off, and to target and study particular DNA sequences. CRISPR also works for every type of cell, whether that be microorganisms, plants, animals, or, of course, humans. In a few decades, CRISPR therapy might cure HIV and other retroviruses. Viruses that hide inside human DNA, like herpes, could be eradicated that way. CRISPR could also help us in our fight against one of humanity's biggest enemies, cancer. I know that this is all very interesting, but how would this actually affect you? I mean, surely there wouldn't be any other changes other than the fact that you'd get cured of all genetically caused diseases, right? Well, not quite. Regardless of your personal take on genetic engineering, it will affect you. Modified humans could alter the genome of humanity. Their engineered traits will be passed on to their children and spread over generations. It'll start slowly, though. The first designer babies won't be overly designed. It's most likely that they'll be made in order to get rid of a deadly disease running in the family. And yes, you did hear me right, designer babies. Babies made with the sole reason of being perfect, artificially selected babies. If you make your offspring immune to Alzheimer's, why not also give them an enhanced metabolism? Why not bless your child with the gift of extraordinary intelligence? You could also stop them from aging altogether. Reversing aging is one of those things that are easy to overlook, but we do need it. Aging reversal has been proven a handful of times, where you can get things like faster reaction times and repair of cognitive issues. So why isn't this available if it's already been proven? Well, it is available for mice. Genes were injected into mice which enhanced heart and kidney functions as well as levels of blood sugar. Technically speaking, this isn't genetic engineering, but rather adding genes in order to boost genetic function, like a power piece. And usually, I would have put this in the same category as uploading your consciousness to the cloud or finding a way to travel at the speed of light. Yes, I can see it happening, but definitely not until after the next century or so. However, after having a look at how many breakthroughs researchers have had so far, I'm confident that we'll be able to conquer the hurdle of aging in a few decades, if not sooner. But before we speed through the possibility of immortality, I think it's important that we become familiar with senescent cells. When cell senescence occurs, the cell undergoes a permanent arrest of the cell cycle. It turns into a zombie cell. Now, the older you get, the more of these zombie cells you have inside you. So what if we could kill off all of these senescent cells without harming any of the other healthy cells around them? Since we know that the zombie cells can't kill themselves, what if we force them to? Most cells produce a protein that tells them when it's time to die. So obviously, Researchers had to inject this protein into mice, and surprisingly, it killed 80% of their senescent cells, all while not harming any of the healthy cells. The mice were also 36% less likely to die. I strongly believe that the secret to anti-aging is a lot closer than we think, and that most people here will be able to witness it in their lifetimes. That being said, none of this is really happening soon, as strong as genetic engineering is, and it is. It's not infallible yet. Wrong edits can still occur, as well as unknown errors that can hide in the DNA and go unnoticed. We just don't know enough about the complex interplay of our genes to avoid unpredictable consequences. Now, I know that it can be disappointing to talk about technology that seems so far into the future. So, how about we talk about technology that's available right now? Proteins are the basis for every bodily function, and mRNA is our cell instructor. And once we take advantage of this cell instructor, we could command our cells to make any protein under the sun. To heal organs, to enhance blood flow, we could even mass-produce proteins that are already available in the body. So, how about we take a look at a time in which mRNA was useful? A time which I'm sure all of us are familiar with, when the C word became a part of our everyday vocabulary. If you've ever seen pictures of the COVID-19 virus, I'm sure you've noticed its distinctive spikes. Now, the mRNA vaccine recognizes the protein found on these spikes, and then our immune system can become familiar with the virus without you ever having to get sick. Now, if the real virus attacks, your immune system is ready to strike because it's already memorized the protein. However, I wouldn't be mentioning mRNA in this talk if its legacy ended with COVID-19. So how about we let our imagination do the work? mRNA could be the secret to defeating humanity's biggest foe, cancer. Cancer cells, like the rest of your body's cells, have certain proteins on them that act as surface markers. So how about we apply the same technology that was used for the COVID-19 virus, but apply it to the proteins found on the cancer cells instead? It is very doable in theory. We just have to figure out the certain proteins found on each cancer cells. This is also a painful reminder that the reason why beating cancer is so hard is mainly because of the different variety of cancers. If treatments for cancer, HIV, and tropical disease are coming along with mRNA, what could be further down the line? All this raises the question, could mRNA therapeutics give us almost superhuman immunity? Are we getting closer to immortality? The technology is certainly a bit intimidating, but we do have a lot to gain, and it's up to us to decide if it's even worth the risk introducing it to the public. Finally, I'd like to paint a positive picture of the future. What if we actually beat cancer? What if we end aging? And what if we end disease altogether? Could we one day achieve immortality? I, for one, look forward to finding out.